Hello architects, and welcome back to another RPG Architect tutorial. My name is Bert, and today we are going to be touching on annotations again. We kind of looked at them a little bit when we set up the line of sight interactions, but today we're going to be using them to create like an NPC that gives quests, and they have the little, exclamation point marker up above their head, kind of like something you would see in World of Warcraft. So yeah, that's the goal of today's tutorial, so let's go ahead and get on into it. We're going to start off in our database as usual because I want to set up an NPC quest giver as an entity definition so that we can reuse him in various places. Now the database has received an update, a facelift if you will, since I've last done a tutorial. It does look real sharp, but now whenever you can select whatever you want on the left side of here, and when you've made your selection, you can click this little minimize button and save yourself some space. That's very cool. And in addition, the entity scripting page themselves have received an update. So we're gonna go to a new spot here. Let's call it NPC Quest 64. And we are going to hit this plus button to create a new script, and now the scripts are going to be tabbed across the top rather than a vertical list right about here, right? So it's going to save some room overall. I think it's going to be a better workflow. So we're going to call this one to start initialize. And now with the tab system in order, scripts are going to be read from left to right. So if I add a couple more here, for instance, the engine is going to check the conditions and interactions and stuff of this first page, and if they're not met, it's going to go to the second page and check those conditions and interactions. If they're not met, it's going to go to this page. So really, when setting up your entities or your scripts that have a lot of different pages, the beginning page will be on the right, the end page will be on the left, okay? So we're going to use this rightmost initialize. We're going to give him a sprite. Let's go to character. I'll do this real quick because you've seen me do it a million times before. 4 directions, 3 frames. Click that button, boom. And then for our character himself, let's just use this guy here. Okay. Now before in the line of sight interactions tutorial, I used annotations over here on the script, right? You can go to animation, add annotation, and this is a perfectly fine way of doing it. Today I wanted to show you how you can have them baked into the visual itself by using this button here. So I'm just going to show you something to keep in mind to start. Let's go to add annotation. We're going to use a sprite. I'm going to use, we're going to select image here, use this little poorly drawn exclamation point that I put together very quickly. Yep, that'll be fine. Click OK. But if I do this, let's just take a look really quick what that looks like. Let's drag this initialize page to the front so it triggers first. And if we set him up out here, there he is. Let's take a look. What that will do is it will have the annotation over top of him. We'll have to adjust its positioning a little bit, but if I get far away and far away, it is still there. It's still there. It's still there. I'm getting hit by a monster. I'm halfway across the world, and I can still see where that quest giver is, right? So we don't need that. So what we want to do is set up a region around him that will trigger the annotation, okay? So let me drag this back to the end of the sequence, or the start really. Let's give him a box collider. I'm going to do box collider because I can adjust the width and the depth. So I'm going to do 4, 3, 1. That should be fine. I'm going to take this annotation off this page, and I'm going to set up a condition. A local switch called in range. By default, this is going to be off, and so if it is off and the player and entity touch, then let's turn a switch on. In range is on, okay? So the page starts up. If this switch is off, which it is by default, and then the player and the entity touch, then it's going to turn a switch on. That's going to take us to our next page here. Okay, so now actually I'm going to get rid of these 2 pages because if I have something set up like I do in here and then I do a new script, it automatically keeps my sprite and my collision set up for me. I want to keep those the same. So let's drag this new page to the left of our initialize. Let's call this one annotation on. You can do a better name than that, but just for reference. And the conditions for annotation on are if local switch is in range is on. Okay, and when that happens, let's add an annotation, sprite, go to our image, yellow XP, there we go. And since it was kind of floating above the guy, I'm gonna do 0.5, or it was kind of floating. It was over top of the character. I want it to be above him, so I'm gonna do 0.5. And I think it was a little bit to the right too much, so I'm gonna do negative 0.1, I guess. Let's just see how that looks. These are fine tuning positions, but if you have an animation for this, this is just a single frame, but if I had it spinning around, for instance, I could leave is cycling on just to cycle through the animation. That's fine. Yeah, so let's do that, and then let's take a look. Okay, I'm out of range. I walk up close enough, and bam, there it is. We now have a annotation on. I am, however, running into his collision box because I didn't set ignore entity collision. So let's click ignore entity collision, however also register ignored collision. And I should probably put that on this one too. I don't know if that's necessary, but we're gonna add it on. Okay. Now, the only problem, I should have showed before I closed out of that, the only problem is we get close, we're in his range, whatever, but if we get away, then it's still there, it's still there, it's still hanging out. It does not turn off. So now we need a page that turns the annotation off, okay? So let's add a new page. It's already got our info in there. Let's drag it over between on and initialize. Let's turn it off, or call it annotation off. And this is if the player and entity are not touching as your interaction, okay? And then also make sure to take your annotation off of the visual here. There you go. And just as a side note, you'll notice if you have something set up here, there's a little indicator like right here. This is the page with it on. It says annotation 1, but for these two first pages, annotations does not show anything, okay? So just something to keep an eye out for, right? So now let's take a look at that. See, we are in range, we are out of range. In range, out of range. Cool, okay. Looks like I probably shifted it over a bit too much maybe, yep. But whatever, like I said, fine tuning stuff. Let's just go ahead and do 0.05, do half of what we did. I'm not gonna spend too much time on that, but. All right, now in addition, let's give this NPC something to do. Let's actually give him the quest, right? So minimize that to get more screen space. I'm just gonna have him be a simple fetch quest. So let's give him a dialog box, display static message. I'm going to give him message template, my message box. Will you deliver this thing for me? Question mark. Okay. I'm going to keep block input on for this instance because after that I'm going to display some dialog options. I set this up off screen, but if you're not sure how to do this, be sure to go and watch my dialog options tutorial, right? So my dialog options are going to be sure and nope. Okay, I'm going to maintain my last message displayed because I just want to have this up on screen while I go. So I have sure or nope. If you want, you can make it cancelable and give conditions for if you just do cancel, which is generally the nope script as well. Set my dialog template to dialog options, and let's give him a script. If you say yes, let's just say I'll leave block input on. Great, thanks. Okay, and if you say, just copy this. You say no, we'll say all right then, ... sad face. Okay. Right? So when the annotation is on, if you hit the action button, it will display this message and it'll give the player a choice of whether or not to accept this quest, right? However, whether you accept it or not, it will just display a message and then nothing further happens. So I'm going to add an additional script under sure. Let's just do, there's multiple ways you can do this, but I'm just going to use a variable. We're just going to do a local variable. Let's just do one. Let's just call this quest progress. Okay, default set to 0. If you say yes, quest progress is set to 1. Okay, now let's set up another page. Let's move this over to the leftmost spot. And now that we have accepted the quest, we're going to call this one in progress. And the conditions for in progress are local variable quest progress is 1, okay? And if it is 1, the annotation is still going to be displayed, but let's just change the color of it, right? So let's do a color mask. Let's just add some green to it. It's going to add green over top of the yellow, so it's going to be an interesting color. That's fine. So now when the quest is in progress, we're just going to have our exclamation point be a different color. If you wanted, you could just change the image here to a question mark or whatever, that's fine too. Whatever you want to be the visual display. Okay, and now if we're at this point, let's do another message. He's going to say, any progress? And we are going to get more options, dialog option, add a condition, maintain last message displayed, and we'll give to, we'll say it is done, and we'll say not yet. Okay, and so for not yet, let's just have him display another message, say well, hurry it up then. And if it is done, he'll just say, amazing, thanks. Okay, and like we did before, let's add a ticker to our variable, local quest progress. Let's set it to 2. Okay, and lastly, we'll do one more page while we're here just to knock it all out. Do one more page, move this one all the way to the left. Call this quest complete, and if local switch, oops, not local switch, local variable, excuse me, quest progress is set to 2, and action button is hit, then he's going to display the message, thanks again for your help. I'll set my message box, and then we need to just take off our annotation. So let's remove the sprite, and boom, there we go. This is a very bare bones like fetch quest thing, right? For the conditions here, or here, let's just take a look at it first, and then we'll go into some finer details, right? Hit OK. So he's hanging out over there. I get in range. It pops up. Okay. I talk to him. Will you deliver this thing for me? Sure or nope. My mask is a little off. I should have made that more transparent, but the red block, that is my cursor basically. So we're saying shh. Actually, let's say nope first. He says, all right then, sad face. The annotation stays up. I get away. It goes away, right? I come back to him later on. I'm stronger, ready, I'm prepared. I talk to him. Will you deliver this thing for me? Sure. Great, thanks. The annotation changes color, okay? So now I walk away. Boom. He's contemplating life. He's just thinking of all the things he could put up on that wall. You come back later. Okay. Quest is done, sir. I went over there. You know, I went over there and I delivered the thing, right? I talked to him. Any progress? Not yet. Well, hurry it up then. Rude. Okay, let me go do the thing. Okay, it's gone. Come back. Any progress? It is done. Amazing, thanks. It goes away. And thanks again for your help. Boom. We have ourselves a very simple little quest set up. And if I come back, the annotation stays gone. And he just keeps saying, thanks again for your help. Easy a peasy. Now, since we set it up as an entity definition, I can just create more of these guys. I can do another one over here. Entity reference. And then you would just convert this guy to an entity, and then I could set up a new quest here. But all my pages are basically set already, right? I would just go in and change dialogue options, change conditions, etc. And just some things you can do, some fine-tuning stuff. You could add a sound effect here. You could have the condition or the quest condition be. Oh, let's say for instance, you say it's done, but it's not really done, right? Say you had to you deliver this key item, and you try to bamboozle the guy, to try to make him think you did when he didn't. You can set up a condition to check for if an item exists. You can tie that to a switch or whatever, or a variable, like say your quest variable ticker goes up when you defeat a boss, right? You can set conditions here to actually make sure this quest is done, right? You can set up a sound effect, like I said. You can do various different things. You can also tie in that line of sight tutorial like I did before, if you want it to be less of a range, or tie in the range with the line of sight. You could do that if you'd like. But this gives you the core principles on how to set this up so that you can start creating your own little quests in your game, right? So anyway, that's gonna do it for me today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this helped. If you did, please be sure to like the video and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this approach. If you haven't already, be sure to pick up your copy of RPG Architect on Steam. We are still in early access, but there's updates and additions being made every single day, like the addition or the improvement on the scripts page. I really do like this a lot better. You have way more real estate to look at your scripts themselves, and having the different pages flowing across the top, it makes more sense to me now personally. So anyway, if you've enjoyed my commentary, if you enjoy my tutorials, please be sure to let me know by leaving a comment below, or even better, but not required, if you would like to support me, you can do so through patreon.com/bitbybitsound, or you can pick up one of my song packs that are available on itch.io. Yeah, much appreciated, regardless of if you're able to do any of that stuff or not. I do appreciate the support. I appreciate you watching to this point, okay? All right, that's going to do it for me today. I hope you enjoyed. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, you have been amazing. I have been Bert, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.